and a financial advisor walk into a bar.
Oh, and then what happens, Dave?
Well, the question comes up, business succession planning.
Oh,
Where do we start?
that sounds boring. Business succession planning. I'm already bored. I think it's an important one for a lot of businesses. What do you do if something happens to you? But more importantly, where do you want your business to be? As you get old and as you retire, do you want it to continue? Do you want to sell it? Do you want to hand it on to your children? Do you want to divide it up? What's the plan? And that's a long-term thing. I think it's something that you don't just, and we've mentioned this before, you don't just go into a solicitor's office, have a meeting, write a plan, sign it, and you're done.
Yeah.
Something that
and then pop it in the bottom drawer and
forget about it.
Hope by osmosis it's all going to occur.
It's something you discuss with your partner, with your personal partner, with maybe your business partners. It's something you discuss with your children, and something that happens and evolves over time. That really, there's no one size fits all. It's what do you want from your life? How do you want your life to look as you get older?
But see, I also look at it from a point of view. I mean, you can talk about succession, but to me, it's a bit of like business transition.
Yeah,
like your business evolves, it grows, it sometimes it goes backwards. People move through your business.
Yeah.
So to me, it's part of your normal, business planning strategy.
Yep.
But it's just that balance between, are you the, CEO of the business? Have you got really good people around you? Have you, changed your role in your own business to a point that, sometimes you're not on the tools as much as such.
Yeah.
But you're around, but you may want to take some time. You may set your transition out of a business where you may still stay the owner, but you may not spend as much time in the business. So you may, set it up that you're taking, I don't know, an afternoon or a day a week away from the business.
Yep.
To me, that's part of a business succession. And you're starting it kind of now, but you may not fully leave a business either through a sale or you still own it, but someone else is running it. It might take you 10 years to do that.
Yeah.
And it takes that longer term thought process as opposed to, I've had enough. I'm sick of it. I'm just going to hang the shingle out the front. I'm just going to go and sell it. It's like, but that you're not capturing the real value of your business.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
How do you bring that along? And I do think there's also a distinction between the public space and the private family space of business. Because you might have a private business, but no family's going to get involved.
Yeah.
But in the other breath, it is a family business because there's multiple people involved in it.
Yeah.
But some of them may want to happily work there, but may not want to take it over.
Yeah. Or sometimes I know some of our clients, the more successful ones particularly, there might be two families or three families who run a business, So there might be two, say, guys who are in partnership who, known each other for years or whatever, but effectively it's one family and another family. And then maybe we got one at the moment who's got two sons in the business. One of the partners has two sons in the business. The other has two children, but neither of them are involved in the business. So, as a succession issue, and the two sons both, I think, want to stay involved and potentially become owners. Yep. So does that mean that the one partner buys it, one partner's family buys out the other partner, at some point, or does it mean that they continue on and these two just become executives and maybe the others stay owners, or however you want to handle it? It really depends on your family and on the structure of your business and so on. But
yes, and this is where there's some interesting dialogue that's sort of moving around the space. I mean, we do a lot of work with sort of private businesses and family groups that are involved in business. That I suppose the norm has always been, the younger generation will just come through and kind of take it over. If you go back a couple of generations, maybe even just one, that people are living longer now. So there's this real balance that sort of says, at what stage do you step away? I mean, we kind of chatted prior to sort of kicking a few things off today. So we're talking about business succession planning in our podcast. So Rupert Murdoch, classic, 92. Oh yeah, up to
he's still pretty vigorous bloke, isn't he?
And he's still working. So there's a point that sort of says, these kids, his children are in their 50s.
Yeah.
So it's like, Dad, when are you stepping down? Like, really, what's going?
Yeah.
So part of the succession is not just the younger ones coming through. I also start to look at it and say, what is your agreement? And this comes back to the size of your business. It just depends. I mean, in the public space, you have a CEO, and generally that CEO will be anywhere from sort of, depending upon their performance, probably say a 5 to 10 year period.
Yep.
Now the business can happily kicks along, but that CEO knows that their tenure in that period generally is going to be that time period, and they will then manage that through to back away to allow someone else to come in. To me, part of the discussion on the private businesses is, at what point do you turn around and say, well, should the person who's running the business at the moment be an agreement that says at 65, sorry, Alex, I know you're very good. You've been doing an amazing job. The business has grown, but at 65, you need to step away. Now, that gives you your own capacity that says at 65, okay, I know I'm running this business and I'm loving it. But at 65, I need to step away. What am I going to do after that? Now, you may, because of longevity, you may go and do something else. You may still sit on the board, but not be an executive inside the business on the day-to-day. But it gives you a chance to go, oh, what? I'm going to go off and find another thing that I've got a real interest in.
Yeah, why not?
And use my skills somewhere else.
Or you might,
all sorts of different things. This next phase in your life that gives you this capacity.
Yep.
Yeah, well, you could rattle a cage in a few places. But it also gives visibility to the younger ones coming through that says, well, we know that Alex is going to leave at 65, and at the moment he's 55 or 60. So in 5 years' time, so how are we going to manage that through to get the I look at it and saying it's a real positive to have some of these discussions, but how do we support some of the older members of a business transition to something where they feel they have a purpose and an identity?
In my experience, the biggest challenge in business succession in the clients we have is having, and can I just stereotype for a minute, having the old bloke step away, right?
Yeah.
I can give you a ton of examples of
they're terrified.
They've got nothing else to do, but there's quite a few where they drop dead. Right, and they drop dead, and then suddenly, and I've got quite one of our clients, quite a young fellow who's had to, and it's just him and his sister, and the sister's not interested in the business at all. He's been working in the business bits and pieces, but not really being anointed as the new CEO. And suddenly, Dad's dead, and that was a sudden death, and so he's CEO, and off he goes. And, he's got to carry the can for the whole family, and Mum's still alive, but Mum wasn't involved in the business either. And it was really difficult for him, but that dad wasn't stepping away anytime soon. And then we've got a few where the dad has become the chairman, and he's not the CEO anymore. And maybe we've got one where the daughter's the CEO, but Dad he's not the chairman. He's still the CEO. You know what I mean? And he just cannot let go. In fact, we've got one where Granddad's still the chair. We've got Granddad, and then we've got the daughter, and then we've got the granddaughter, who are all in the business. But
we've got the founder probably still owns all the stock.
Yeah, right. And so then he'll die, and then the stock might go to a number of people, and some of them are involved in the business, and some of them aren't.
Correct.
And it's just, but having the old person, the often the founder or the main owner, whatever it is, having them step away is very difficult. They virtually never do, and often it's their health which is a real sad state of affairs, right? They drop dead.
Agree.
And you think, well, hang on, what about spending a bit of time with the grandchildren? What about, if you're interested in golf or travel or whatever your passions are, they've all just passed you by, and you've dropped dead at the in the office effectively. And that's,
so again, this is why I like to refer to it as a business transition.
Yeah, I like that.
It's not so much succession; it's a transition that you're in a seat for a period of time, and it's a bit like the Jim Collins stuff. The good to great. Get the right people in the right seats on the bus. If you want to get on the bus, great, but you've got to be in the right seat. And sometimes just because you're the eldest child doesn't mean that you need to be in the driver's seat. And it's the same for the older ones as they mature and they move their way through. There's a point where it says you actually need to step off the bus and you need to get on another one. Doesn't mean that you can't still be an owner.
Yeah.
Well, and that's a real challenge because people go, why do I need to do that? It's my business. It said, but that's the point.
Yeah.
You're saying it. Why do I need to do it? And it's my business.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
But for the business to continue to grow and for you to step away to find a new sense of purpose, sometimes you need to back away for a period of time.
Yeah. Well, and a business is really, I mean, it might be your business, sure, but, business is a bunch of stakeholders. I feel like a sense for myself, a sense of stewardship. You've got a business, but you've got a bunch of clients that you support. You've got a bunch of employees that are supported. You've got people with ownership interest, whatever it is. You've got maybe a family that's being supported. They've got families that are being supported by the business. There's more to a business than just it's, this guy. And in fact, of course, valuable. In my case,
except in your case,
valuable businesses. I mean, you build a valuable business by not being at the center of every operation.
And I think that's also a really important point, because that is, all of a sudden it's like, but it's a really good business. Like, I know, but if you're not there driving and running it and being across all this stuff, and everyone knows that, Alex is walking through the place today, so everyone better be on their best behavior, that actually is detrimental to the business.
Yeah, and detrimental to you, right? That's not the way you want to live your life.
Because you feel as though you can't back away.
Yeah.
I mean, we've had many discussions with clients where there's the husband and the wife, and the husband is predominantly the one that's in the business, and there's the query that says, but you promised me that when the kids finish school, this would happen. Then when they finish university, and then it's like something else. Then it would like we want to go away for 3 or 6 months.
Yeah.
But you say we can't take more than 2 weeks because you can't be away from the business for that length of time.
Yeah, and then on that 2 weeks, you're on your phone anyway, right?
Correct. It starts to build some angst amongst the relationships because so this is where, again, we talk about business transition. Like, let the business be its own operation that supports your lifestyle, but it gives opportunity to other people.
Yeah.
Whilst you can still deal with the strategic direction, but not the day-to-day.
Yeah, and I'd say on that, that to that transition needs to be a long-term thing. So, like you mentioned before, you take an afternoon off a week, or you only check your emails at lunchtime, or whatever it is. These are really tiny baby steps where you train the team to be without you. Maybe you train, if you want to hand over to your children, maybe they're there and you're stepping back and they're stepping in. This all has to happen over a period. It's not something that's going to suddenly happen. And of course, if it does suddenly happen, it'll probably be when you drop dead, or or you
get some illness that just it forces you to deal with it. So I just think it's an exciting time for people to think about it, because again, it comes back to longevity.
Yeah,
people there's the numbers are clearly showing that. And I think we've spoken previously about, I know that we've put some communication out about the 100-year life. And there's a lot of research out there at the moment that people are transitioning from one particular career, and look, they may have worked within an organisation till they're in their 50s or 60s, and then they've had enough. They're like, and they go off and do some hobby.
Yeah.
It was a hobby that all of a sudden people go, oh, wow, Alex, that's fantastic. Can you come and do that for me? And can you come and do that for me? And all of a sudden they're meant to be retired and they've never been so busy. And they're like, how good's this? I love what I do. I love getting out of bed every day. And I got people paying me for it. This is not a job. I'm just... And all of a sudden, you see these mature entrepreneurs coming out, starting stuff, and they can pick and choose what they want to do.
Yeah.
And they set their time up that way. And they go, I love the stimulation. I'm meeting interesting people again. I feel as though I'm moving towards something. And to me, part of that challenge in any business is to allow people to do that. And you've got to start early. What is your hobby outside your business?
Yeah. And we talked about this before. You got to, particularly, I think, your traditional business founder who their hobby is their business. You've got to start developing interests outside of business, because otherwise, you have a very small life, right? And if you want to move away from the business, you have to have something, not just be moving away from, but something you're moving towards.
True, correct.
And I've certainly found that myself personally, that the business, since I started it, it's become kind of all encompassing. And I think, well, what would I do if I had a day off a week? And the answer is, I don't know. Go back to work, answer my emails, catch up on some work.
It's hard. I agree.
Yeah.
It's really. I'm with you. I'm personally, I'm really struggling with that at the moment as well. Like, if I was to give myself a day off a week, what would I do? Like, I'm that is. Yeah, that I'm not saying I've got all the answers.
Yeah.
You know, it is because, you know, I love what I do. Like, to me, I'm you know, I can talk about these things, and I'm going through that whole process personally myself. Like, it's what do I do? I've got 2 more kids left at school, and in 2 years' time they're done. So all of a sudden, there's no kids left at school. Like, they're all over 18. Or, you know, we could go off and do a few more things. But again, how do I? But again, I really like what I do, so I don't really see it's coming to work every day.
You know, so what would we say to business owners who are saying, okay, well, I'm not sure what I want to do succession with my succession. I've never thought about it, which is often the case. Never thought about it. Don't really know. This all sounds like, you know, it sounds like something I should be thinking about. Do you first work out, look, in the long run, do I want to sell my business? Do I want to pass it to my children? Do I want to wind it up? Is that the first step? Do I, you know, what do I want to do? Or do you say, hang on, what do I want my life to look like as I get older?
Well,
I want to go to Europe every year, you know?
Yeah, see, that's one of the, I suppose, and I'll happily give a self-plug here. That is absolutely the process that we do from an advisory perspective. So, yes,
as a wealth activist and financial advisor.
It's like, okay, you've got success. What are you going to do with it? And so having a third party just challenging you in asking you some questions, because we get it all the time. When we take people through a framework discussion, and generally if they're married, we like our preference is absolutely to have the husband and wife together, because we ask them a lot of questions individually and jointly where they've said, oh, that's a really good question. I don't have the answer to that. Now, that doesn't mean that we have to stop. It's like, okay, so we've identified some of those queries, or to say to them, you know, what was it like? Sometimes we find that their parent has deceased early. Because they worked and worked and worked and worked, or for whatever reason. So you get some people go, you know what, I'm done at 60 because of my old man died at 70. So I want to use my 10 years that I think, you know, maybe. So it's these sorts of things that you get people to. And so part of it is just, we give the analogy of turning the puzzle upside down out of the box. Right? And we're flipping the pieces over. But the picture is formed. With the questions that we're asking to say, well, what does that look like? Because sometimes you've got to look out 10 or 15 years and then bring it back to say, right, if that's what you want in 10 or 15 years, what are the things that we need to do along the way to get you there? Now, that vision may change slightly, but generally people have got a pretty good idea of what they would like to be doing. Sometimes it's possible, sometimes it's not. But, you know, the best
people say to you,
the journey.
I want to be sitting in my holiday house in the French Riviera sipping cocktails. Is that what they say? And you say, well, is that realistic with your finances? Or do you say, well, hang on, you can't sip cocktails 24 hours a day?
That's part of it. I mean, some of it's like, I'd love this. It's like, okay, well, have you got $15 million to buy that piece of real estate? Well, not really. Okay, so therefore now let's change your expectations. But you might have something that is there, but again, it's part of the process is to go through in the discussion and to challenge people along the way that says, but we can work towards that. But you need to work out what it is. What direction do you want to go in? Like, do you want to go north, south, east, or west? It doesn't really matter, but you've got to start. Now, you might take 5 steps forward and go, oh, what I thought was going to be, I don't really want.
Well, I mean, that happened to me.
But then you've learnt. It's not a mistake. And this is what I get frustrated with. People go, oh, it was a mistake. I just shouldn't have done that. I'm like, no. What did you learn going through that? And what you've learnt from that enables you to make another informed decision. Not see it as a downside. Oh, I lost money on that one. Okay, again, yes, not every deal works every time, but what did you learn? If you had your time again, what would you do differently?
Well, that's a very positive attitude. I certainly, when I started the business, I really did it because I wanted some more freedom in my life. I felt that, having the boss telling me what to do, I didn't like it. I wanted to do my own thing, right? I thought I can do this. My boss is no cleverer than me. And what I found is, of course, you do have freedom, but then you have a different kind of constraint. And I'm sure everyone's nodding their head who runs a business, right? Suddenly, instead of, sure, you don't have your boss telling you what to do, but you do have a whole bunch of just realities, client expectations, financial pressures, all of that, family pressures, whatever it is that you need to manage, and in some ways you're freer, and in other ways you're less free, right? And that's where, and we've talked about, do you want to be an employee or do you want to own a business? And there's pros and cons to both. And I don't think.
And if you've been a business owner, I think it's very hard to go back to being an employee.
Well, we said, we talked about. I'm probably unemployable now. I don't think anyone would offer me a job. I go, who is this maniac? I'm not. No, there's no way. So I think I'm stuck owning a business, like I think probably many of us are. But certainly, I learned that, and so then the next step for me, in to some extent, in beginning the succession planning journey, although I'm a long way, I think, from retiring, but even so, I've learned that that there's some constraints, and that actually there's things you can do to be even freer. So you can actually take time away from your business, and learn to delegate better, and learn to support and empower your team to be more productive, and to take to often make decisions better than you could make. And if you can do that, then you can actually be freer again. And that was the next step for me in my business, because for me it was all about being free and being kind of financially independent. But there's things you can do to address that, but it takes this kind of succession planning, takes taking time away from your business, takes that kind of headspace to work out what you want your life to look like. Because I sort of wanted to be more free, and I ended up a bigger slave than I ever was. And I think a lot of business owners experience that. They work all the time. They're always on their phone. They're not present with their families. They're, stressed. They're often not taking care of their health, all that sort of stuff. All because they started this business, which is their baby. And you think, well, hang on, the baby's supposed to be supporting you, not the other way around.
Correct. Because it comes back to this issue about time resource. Everyone has the same 24 hours in a day. No one gets any more or less. They say, so therefore,
the same time as Beyonce. Everyone's got 24 hours. So if Beyonce can do it, so can you.
But this is where you got to ground people sometimes and say, how do you want to choose to spend your time? You can't. But if I don't do it, okay. So therefore, does that tell you that your business is the size as you're transitioning through? Do you need to put on another resource to support you to get it to the next stage and offload the stuff that you shouldn't be dealing with? And again, it comes into how do you continue to build to. It's like building a house. I mean, you don't build a 4-story house with no solid foundations. You need to get your foundation set, and then you can go to the next level, or then the next level.
And succession planning, or transition planning, as perhaps we should call it, is just part of that. It's part of that business building.
Because you can use so if you've been in a particular industry for a while, this is what a lot of people also forget. It's like, the industry's been really good to me. Okay, so then if you want to stay within the industry because you love it and you want to refine your purpose in a few areas, get involved in some of the associations, some of the there may be some active groups within the industry. So you're still involved. You can go to lunches and presentations and breakfasts. I mean, sometimes you just got to go find them. They're all out there. It's just a matter of how can I give my knowledge and wisdom in a different avenue. You can still be very active in a different way without saying, well, I have to come to the business every day. Just because it's their identity and their sense of purpose is, well, I've got to be at the factory or the office or whatever it is. Well, what happens if you don't turn up?
But that comes back. So you have your meeting, you work out, well, what do I want and maybe that takes some time. What do I want my life to look like over the next 10, 20 years? And then you work backwards, go, okay, how do I make that plan?
Correct.
And that is your succession plan.
And it's more transition. It is this sort of because there is, and also, if you have a couple, sometimes one partner is more engaged with the children. Sometimes both partners are involved in the business, and so they're juggling the kids. The kids go through phases at certain primary and secondary, and then as they get it, there's phases that you kind of move through as to how much time can you dedicate to certain areas. And again, it becomes managing a wider family unit. It's a team effort. No one is overly successful on their own. It just is not possible. Because you can only do so much in a day. You need to get people around you to support you. And part of that support mechanism is reaching out to some people that are outside your organisation to kind of go, well, but if I wanted to do this, how can I do it? And again, you may not always get the result that you want, but at least it's opened up your mind and thought process around, well, let me just try that. Like, let me see how I go. So what we like to be able to get people to do is, take a day off.
Yep.
And then it might be, we'll progress to that. How'd they go? Let's take a week off. Right.
Yeah.
You literally switch your phone off.
And a week away from your phone, because I fell into that trap. I was taking time off, but then I was sending 7 emails at 7 o'clock in the morning, and then another few at 10 o'clock in the morning, and basically I was working all day. It's just that I was not in the office.
Correct. And so trying to build it through this process that you can get up to, because generally a month is a full cycle in any business.
Yes.
So to progress to that point, and again, it might take 3 to 5 years to get to this, to the point where you can start at 6 weeks. So you're missing a full cycle, or you take your month off in between the end of month stuff. So the start and the finish is carried over. Then as you get to 6 weeks, then all of a sudden it's like, well, if I'm out for 6 weeks, why can't I take 12? Okay.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
whilst you're away for those small incremental transitions, what fell over whilst I was away? Okay, now let's plug that. Next. And then as you give stuff over to more people to kind of take over, you're like, all right, so now my plate's getting smaller and smaller.
Yeah.
As I back further and away from the business, I'm actually my mind has opened up. It's like, okay, I can sit back as a helicopter view of the business to go, oh, that person over there, they're actually doing a really good job.
Yeah.
I reckon we should work out how we can nurture them into potentially a new role, or is there an opportunity for us to grow bigger, or do we niche our business and make it tighter but deeper in what we're doing? So therefore you don't have to keep expanding, but your price point goes up because you are the absolute specialist in an area that you've had the capacity to get away to just look at it. So again, that's why I talk more about transition.
Yeah. You can't do that if you're just running around answering emails every day.
Like it's you're doing. Again, people pay us to think as well. Like that. You need people around. So again, I just think there's this whole business transition is a really interesting area, and it's an exciting topic to get people to get them to talk about what it is that they would love to do. And sometimes no one's ever asked them the question. I mean, we've had many circumstances where, we've met with someone and an accountant that may have worked with this particular individual for 5, 10, 15 years are like, oh my God, I've never heard any of that stuff before.
Yeah. And I've got to say, actually, as we work on as lawyers, sometimes, we're doing all their legal stuff and whatever, and you don't actually realize that, they've had a new baby, or that they've started a new business over here, or whatever, or that their goal was always to do X or Y, because you're so focused on the day to day, and you got to hang on. We need to create some space to have those discussions, get to know them better, and then help them better as their advisor, in whether it's a legal or a financial advisor or whatever.
Because it's
forward-looking. I'm guilty of that. You're just so focused on the job at hand, and I think and that happens with the business as well. You don't ask the questions because you're just focused on doing the job that you need, that's in front of you, and life passes you by.
Yep, unfortunately, and again, this is where it's like, let's try and capture part of that. Let's control where we're going. I mean, sometimes it might be just a gentle nudge. Other times it might be a shunt. Like we actually need to really shunt someone over in a direction that they were so blinkered on. That it's like, and you see it, and you get people talking about is family member, friend, something happens to them where they go, oh, holy shit, that happened to them. Jeepers, I don't want that to be for me. Therefore, what am I going to do? How can I proactively address it?
Yeah.
So, again, as we close it out, exciting, great to have these conversations, and sometimes it's giving people the permission to have these conversations. That's probably the biggest issue. A lot of time they don't step out to kind of do this. So
I like the idea that succession, it's not or transition. It's not just one conversation you have at a meeting one time and fill out a form and you put it in the bottom drawer, but it's actually something that just as your business evolves. And the point that you just made about if by doing this kind of transition planning, succession planning, actually might make your business better now. You might realize, hang on, this person should be doing that, or whatever it is. We should forget about all this work that we do that it takes us makes us really busy and doesn't make us any money, and just do the profitable stuff and nothing else, and then take 3 days off a week, you know.
Then you can sit back and drink your cocktails.
Yeah. Well, that's right. I mean, I've got a
Well,
client
you're in a bar.
I've got a client who only works 3 days a week, and he runs his business 3 days a week, makes about 150 grand a year. That's enough for him. It's just him, and he's happy, and and he spends a lot of time with his grandchildren.
That's what I mean. Like, this is where do you want to spend your time? Like, what floats your boat in certain areas, and that for some people that's not enough. For other people, it's like, well, I'm comfortable with that. Yeah. All right, well, we better close it out.
Okay.
Alex, thank you once again. I'd like to thank Alex from Taurus Legal Management. He can be contacted via LinkedIn at Alex Marson or via his website, tauruslawyers.com.au.
Thanks, and I'd like to thank David Murdoch, the wealth activist from Paxton Bridge, and he can be contacted via LinkedIn at David Murdoch or via the website, which is paxtonbridge.com. He's just a .com. I'm a .au. He's just a .com because he's just an international man of mystery.
Absolutely. All right, Alex, once again, pleasure. Enjoyed that discussion, and we shall chat next time.
Thanks, Dave. Thanks, listeners. See you next time.
Cheers.